In today's episode, we're joined by Ev Foster, someone who's seen estate agency from all angles, from starting out in the industry to launching her own firm, now heading up the team at Keller Williams Scotland. We cover everything from what makes their model different, what it really takes to go self-employed, and why she's passionate about supporting more women into leadership. Let's get into it. Ev, thank you for coming on the podcast today. So to get us rocking and rolling, how did you first get into estate agency?
Well, it was about 112 years ago, I think. It was before Rightmove, and it was in the days when, in my opinion, estate agency was done the proper way. So it was back in the 90s, originally, and I was actually brought in the mortgage consultancy side, and then very quickly had a passion for the estate agency side, and then had a break for a while to bring up my kids and came back into it again in 2015, 16. Um, yeah, had to try and get back into it somehow. So came back into it with an online agency. And then yeah, that's been me since.
Good. And so what was your early experience like? So talk us through those sort of pre-Rightmove days. Because I imagine, because I was thinking when you said that, it's pre-Rightmove, I was thinking, right, well, Rightmove was sort of, what, 98, 99, 2000 in that sort of ballpark, I think. So what's kind of shifted in the industry, do you think, from sort of those pre-Rightmove days to sort of post-Rightmove sort of days?
Okay, honestly, I think it's made for a lot of lazy estate agents, quite frankly. I think estate agency is much more than just sticking it on Rightmove, Zoopla, all other portals are available, and just waiting for inquiries coming in. Back in that day, we had to find the buyers, we had to call people, we had to use our database, we had to use our little box of contacts, we had to reach out and find buyers. I mean, of course, there was no social media either. So to me, it was what estate agency should be, and what I like it to think in some instances it's coming back to, for people to get a higher level of service, higher level of relationship with clients, and actually not just sit back and go, that's it, I'm an estate agent, or that's it, that house will sell because I've shoved it on a portal. That's my honest opinion.
And so talk me through the sort of, because obviously there's probably lots of things here that people can sort of relearn, if that's the right way of putting it, from sort of that sort of time period. So put me through sort of the method for launching a property back then to make sure you got as much exposure on it as possible. I guess you put it in the paper would kind of be your sort of smaller right move equivalent. But what else could you do to kind of really drum up interest for that property? Bear in mind those portals didn't exist at that time.
Well, a lot of so where our estate agency office was in a busy thoroughfare of, there was just lots of estate agents' offices. So back then, a lot of people would literally walk up Byres Road in the West End, was where I was in Glasgow, walk up and just pick up the schedules. And they would come in, by the end of it, and they would just have this pile of schedules. So people would physically come in and say, "What have you got for sale in the region of blah blah blah?" We also had every buyer, anybody that had inquired, they would then go into the box, and then when a new property came on, they would be given a phone call. So you had the paper, you had the people coming in, and then actually reaching out and speaking to people that you'd had this one come on, and that was kind of about it, really. I mean, there wasn't people didn't go online to find properties. It was more a real physical walk up the street or a phone call from the agent. So yeah, and I think now, I don't think the kind of physical walk up the street will come back, but the phone call from the agent absolutely should come back. I think the question would be, like, new estate agents coming in now, what do you do apart from put it on the portals?
Yeah, well, that's always the question, isn't
Don't
it?
do very much. So
Well, I suppose that's the thought, isn't it? When agents say, "Oh, I agree, I really struggle on fee, and I really struggle to kind of stand out against other agents." We need to kind of very, very articulately come across and say, "This is why I'm different from other agents, and this is what I do above and beyond, bang it on the portals and waiting for the phone to ring. This is actually what I'm going to do to generate interest in your property rather than kind of wait for it to come through."
100%. And that's that. But then also when you do that, that also then can lead to other listings, right? Because people then go, okay, they're very proactive. They phone me about a property, so they're going to phone other people about my property, and it does make you different. And I think, as I say to my agents, if you say you're different, be different.
Mm.
So just making these calls is a big, big thing.
Yeah, it's funny because one of my friends, he actually listed his property for sale a couple of weeks ago with a very large, in fact, I think it's the largest estate agency brand, begins with a C, and everyone will know who they are. And I was like, Mike, why on earth have you gone on the market with those guys? I was like, come on, there's a lot of better choices. And he's like, they phone me all the time. He goes, I work in a sales job. They phone me all the time. I appreciate they're busy with me phoning me. Then I think they're busy phoning buyers who want to view my property. And I was like, well, I can't really argue with that logic, to be honest with you. That if they're in your face and sort of on the phone with you a lot, then yes, they're going to be in the right place at the right time by default. So I think people sort of underestimate how important it is to be in front of people and actually making those regular communications. Because if you're making regular communications with them, then they'll think you're also doing that for my buyers as well.
100%. I mean, I was looking for a property for myself and my family a couple of months ago. And the guys in the office would tell you I would come in and I would just be like, I cannot believe I haven't had a phone call. The home report would be sent out. Obviously, in Scotland, that's the first thing that they do. They would have it, so it'd be an automated email. There's your home report. And then even on some occasions, I could download the home report off the agent's website. So sellers, sorry, their home reports are getting sent to goodness knows who with no follow-up calls. None. And so to see it firsthand, it's not just me saying it as this is the way I would do it. I actually received it or received a real lack of service or a contact. There's no way I would use any of these agents to sell my home. Obviously, I won't anyway. But if I was a seller, I'd be thinking they're not bothered, not bothered.
So you've kind of segued me beautifully to my next section, if that's okay. So obviously, people who have a slight keen ear will notice your Scottish accent coming through, which I think is a great accent to have. And obviously, you work in the Scottish property market, and it's always a giveaway when I talk to anybody from Scotland when I say, "Oh, what's your fall through rate?" And they're like, "Oh, it's a couple of percent." And I think, "Oh my God, like, you should come down to England," sort of thing. So, what do you think that agents in the UK could learn from agents in Scotland? And obviously, these are things that are outside of their control with regard to obviously home reports and stuff like that. What are the good things in Scotland you've got in place that you think really help you in your job?
Well, I think home report is a big one. There's a lot of talk on social media and different things with different agents down south about people overvaluing properties. It's kind of like, let's just give it a try at this value. We can't do that. We don't have, the ability really to do that because the home report is setting the value from the beginning. So you can't just kind of test the market as such either. And I see again social media posts of, oh, we'll just test the market. Well, there's no upfront cost for somebody down south to test the market. There is up here because you're paying for a home report. So, and I'm sure sometimes the sellers will withdraw their houses for sale if they don't feel they're getting it. So there's both. Tends not to be the case up here because they've invested in the marketing of their home. I mean, I think that's probably the biggest difference is the not overvaluing option. Because when I speak to my colleagues down south and agents down here, I think that's probably the main reason. Obviously, we've got the same thing, maybe mortgage finance not being secured, by a buyer, but we'll literally put it back on and it's sold again within the next couple of weeks, usually if it's been a quick sale. Again, it's just because it's on at the right price. Houses will sell at the right price, right?
One thing I'm really passionate about, and I try to get in many of my clients do as I possibly can do, is making sure that people who want to sell their properties have got some sort of skin in the game. Because you're absolutely right. Yeah, we'll give it a go. Or if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. It's no sell, no fee, isn't it? Sort of thing. You kind of sometimes you can attract sort of tirey, kickery people who go, I'll give it a go, and if it sells for so and so price, then I'll sell sort of thing. But if not, you can do hours and hours and hours of the work and photography and floor plans and videos to get nothing off the end of it. So I'm always a big fan of sort of homeowners having skin in the game, whether that's a home report or an upfront marketing charge or whatever it may be, just to make sure you're actually serious about selling your property to start off with.
Yeah, I mean, we've got home report and most of the agents, my agents will charge a marketing fee, and that'll cover photography, that'll cover, a for sale board, it'll cover some outlays, so the sellers are definitely committed to sell. They're not just tasting it, for sure.
Oh, brilliant. So you are the operating principal for Keller Williams Scotland. So how did that all come around?
Um, the long story, I'll try and keep it short, is I was working for an online agency, as I said, and I was driving, I was covering kind of the bottom half of Scotland, which is quite big in terms of mileage, maybe not in population. And I just got to the point where I thought, I can't do this. It's too much driving. And I'd already tried to get back into traditional estate agency, but nobody would take me on, in the sense of I was a single mum, I had 4 kids. I couldn't be in the office for 9 o'clock and I couldn't be in the office till 5. So it was kind of what do I do? So I went down the self-employed route of setting up my own agency with Keller Williams, back in late 2017, early 2018. And it was great. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Was it difficult? Yes, it was. Was it hard? It was not easy, but it was challenging. But it meant I had more time back for me and the kids, and I could work my own hours. And then I got approached to open up the market centre in 2000, the end of 2019. So I opened up January 2020 in Glasgow, 2 months before lockdown. So that was a bit of a challenging year. And then gradually over the next few years, then got to be owner of different, we work with kind of licenses of Edinburgh and North, and now since January, and have been a separate entity of KW Scotland. So I have been in the agent's shoes not that long ago and kind of just worked through it. So but yeah, I mean, for me it was about flexibility. It was about having somewhere that would be flexible with me, and I'm sure, and it's something I hear a lot from men and women, not just women, that that to have that flexibility in the self-employed world is one of the reasons that they've done it.
So talk me through of the agents you have underneath your umbrella at Keller Williams Scotland. What separates the ones that are doing sort of well to the ones that are doing really, really well? What sort of some of the key characteristics or personality traits or things they do every day that separate sort of the real winners from the ones that are just doing all right?
Exactly what you just said, Chris. The things they do every day. That is the separation. It is having the right mindset to go, okay, this bit of my success is actually quite boring. Let's be honest. Doing the same thing consistently. And what is that thing? It's lead generation, whether that's talking to people, social media, being out at networking, looking at your database, going back to the old phoning of people, actually having conversations with people. You need to do that every single day. And even when you have a lot of listings on and you're doing the viewings, etc., you're still concentrating on your lead gen. You're still having that. We talk about, leads, listing, and leverage. The first thing in that is leads. That's what you need. So you have to be in talking to people. But it's the most successful ones, they will do that every single day. They will then get to the point where they have enough leads for themselves that they can maybe then work with another agent to pass them leads, and on it goes and on it goes. It's just the habits. It's mindset. It's the habits, and it's just doing exactly what the models of lead gen teach you.
I had to hold back my slight laughter there, slightly when you said it's called listings, leads, and leverage, because that is literally the name of our group we have on Instagram as our broadcast channel. So there you go. Great minds think alike. And I think that many of the agents I talk to day in, day out, they don't normally have an estate agency problem. So normally they're great agents. So they walk in the front door, they list, they value, they sell, and that's all really good sort of things. But the ones that go self-employed that do really well understand that obviously they have an estate agency business to run outside of that. And one of the big parts of that is for them to put themselves in a position where they can show off how good they are as an agent. I think what we don't want to be is kind of the best kept secret in town. We always want to be the worst kept secret in town, where everyone's like, oh my God, I see your board everywhere. I see your videos everywhere. I get your letters all the time. So therefore you can show off how good you are as an agent. So do you think there's a difference between the ones that almost can show off how good they are and the ones that can't show off how good they are?
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to exactly what you said again in the local area. You want to walk down the street, not only see your boards in, a few places, you want people to recognize you as the person that's the face on the board. You want somebody to go, oh, there's Ev, she's the property person, she's the go-to. You want to be talked about in the pub, the coffee shop, the local chippy, the local takeaway. You want, if somebody's having a conversation about property in your area, you want them to think about you. You don't want to be, as I would say, we all want to, we're all estate agents, but we don't want to be 007. We don't want to be secret agents. We have to be out there and we have to, for me to do a really good job as an estate agent, I have to be sitting in somebody's living room. How do I get there? By being out there, by showing success in what I've done for other people, but having more conversations than the other person that's maybe in the same area as me.
So if I, so I'm gonna throw this in front of you here now, but we haven't prepared this question at all for yourself. So if I threw you back to the beginning today and I said, right, we're back to start, we're back from square one, you're launching your estate agency business today as a self-employed agent with which whoever it may be, what would be, talk me through what your first sort of week or first month would look like with regard to kind of where you would focus your time, effort in that time?
So I'd start with my sphere of influence. I would start with people that I know. I would start with, and if I was a brand new agent that maybe not done state agency before, I would start with people who know what I'm like as a person or have maybe worked with me previously, so they know my standards. They know that, I have a high standard for attention to detail, or if I say I'll do something, I'll do it. I think that the kind of selling the house part is actually a relatively easy process. And obviously, somebody coming in with ourselves, they have all that experience behind them. But I would absolutely say to them, the thing would be database. You're looking at building a business. You're not just looking listing to listing. You are looking at being in a relationship with people, as I keep saying. So call people, tell them what you're doing. Make sure if somebody checks you out on social media, they can see you're an estate agent. And it's not just about just listed, just sold. It's about make sure they know you as a person. Why, if you and I went to a listing, Chris, why would they choose you, not me, and vice versa? Because of the person you are, not because you're a better estate agent or I'm a better. It's about connection. That's my opinion. So use your connections to start talking to people. Ask for their help. Phone people and say to them, "You're starting this business." If they hear of anybody looking for somebody to help them sell their house, can it be me? Would you put me forward?
It's something that I think
Yeah.
Keller Williams agents are absolutely brilliant at. So at our mastermind last week, we did a little bit of an audit comparing social media followers versus your database. There's a bit of rule of thumb that about for every follower you have online, or every 10 followers, about 20% should be in your CRM system. So sort of you own that data effectively. And it was really interesting going around the room. And there was lots of different brokerages in the room, and Keller Williams had an entire table because they brought so many people, and there was a clear difference between the Keller Williams ones and everyone else, because I think quite a few of the people who were sat around that table actually had a larger database and they had social media followers. Whereas everyone else was like, oh, I've got 10,000 social media followers. Oh, and I've got 2,000 people in my database. But lots of people at Keller Williams were like, I've got
Yeah.
10,000 people in my database, but I've only got 2,000 people on social media. So it shows the importance that sort of certain brokerages put in certain directions. And I think Keller Williams are really passionate about sort of that database and growth of network.
Absolutely, and I mean, that comes from the man himself, Gary Keller. When he first started in real estate, 40 odd years ago, that was the first thing he focused on, was building a database. Building it, feeding it, communicating. So a lot of our agents are trained and coached into communicating with their database, because at the end of the day, no self-employed agent is, I say no, and I use that, they're not wanting market share it's very difficult to get market share in their area. But so they want mind share. We would say you want mind share. You just want to be that somebody goes, I just got an email from Ev last week. Yeah, I'm now thinking of selling my house, or somebody is, or I saw her on social media, or I saw her down the street, or she phoned me, or you want to be top of mind. And if you start that from the day you become a self-employed agent, you're building your business. Because if you then get to the point where you wanted to sell your business, or you wanted, your database should be the thing that is actually building value in your business and also returning to you in an investment. So do make that investment initially, and speak to many people that you already know. And obviously, when you then list, by default, you then get more people for your database, from buyers, from other viewers, from etc. So it's just keeping that going and never stops. It never stops.
So let's go glass half empty if that's okay. What are the mistakes that you see agents make when they first kind of go into the self-employed world that trip them up quite early on?
Worrying too much about what the leaflet or the business card looks like. Simple.
Yep.
You don't worry. Just pick up the phone to people. People are not going to remember you because your business card. You know, I had a conversation with an agent earlier, and I said, so because we're very big on accountability. Not me telling people what to do. Them telling me what they're going to do, and I hold them accountable to that plan. Um, hadn't got the leaflets delivered. Been a problem with it. All right. So what did you do then? Well, I haven't got my leaflets delivered. So how many calls did you make? So, the model, any of the, I mean, there's obviously lots of choices of self-employed models, or personal estate agents, as we kind of now call them. And all of them will say the same thing. The more conversations you have, the bigger the business you build. So have the conversations.
Yeah, I think it's almost sometimes you make confusion between effort and achievement. Sometimes you can be working hard, and we've all been days where we've gone work from 8:30 in the morning until 5 o'clock in the evening, and then we've gone, well, what have I achieved today? I've just been putting out fires and I've been sending some emails. You're like, well, that hasn't really moved the needle that far forward. And I think it's about looking at those daily tasks that are actually going to move your business forward rather than just doing the stuff. What's going to make us, 1% better for tomorrow? Right. Okay. What can we do 1% better after that sort of thing? As things that are actually going to move the needle rather than just moving paperwork around the desk and sending emails to various people to then email back sort of thing. So I think from my experience, lots of agents sort of focus on the wrong stuff to start off sometimes.
100%. And then the biggest thing that I would say that people need to master from day one is time blocking. You have to put that appointment in your diary for your lead generation activities. So make an appointment with yourself. We recommend 2, 3 days, 2, 3 hours a day. But don't then be distracted by, you know, you go down the rabbit hole of social media unless that's part of your time block time that you're on social media making your posts. But time block that time and absolutely protect it. Because what happens as humans, we go, oh, well, I've got that, but it's just me. So I'll just go and do something else, or I'll watch a wee bit of Wimbledon this afternoon, or I'll do whatever it is. And that time blocking time, just because we actually sometimes don't value our own time enough. So, if you and I, like, we came on here at 1 o'clock, there's no way I would go, oh, well, it doesn't matter. I'll not come on and see Chris at 1 o'clock. He'll be fine. Of course I wouldn't, because that would be letting you down. But I could maybe do that to myself. I don't, but I'd say, it's 1 o'clock. No, I'll not do that. I'm only letting myself down. No. So time blocking for lead generation is key from day one.
I think that it's about looking at what's important to your business that day. And so, for me, I have the same jobs that I do day in, day out. And it's a bit of a sad thing to admit. So we got back from my mastermind last week at 10:30 at night. So we went for dinner with a few people afterwards, sort of thing, at the event. That was really nice. Go back at 10:30 and I said to my partner, I just need to do half an hour's worth of work. And she was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, because it's my daily jobs and I've not done them today because I've been like talking on stage for the last 5 hours. So like I have to do it every single day, and it almost gives me like PTSD if I don't do it because I've done it so many times day in, day out. And I know that if I skip one day and I go, oh, don't worry about it. Oh, I've had a long day, so it's a mastermind day. It doesn't matter. That gives me a blank check for the future. Be like, oh, don't worry about it. It's a Wednesday. Oh, I don't know. It's Friday today. I don't do it. It's Friday today. Busy Friday today. I don't do it. This sort of thing. So I think if you do that pattern long enough, and Jason did a really good talk, Jason Bull, at our event about consistency and discipline. He was saying that, if you do it every day for 13 days, you've got a really good chance of it following through. Whereas if you don't do it every day for 13 days, you're pretty much stuffed. So it's about having those sort of, I would imagine you would agree that you'd have those rock solid sort of day in, day out jobs, weekly jobs, monthly jobs, quarterly jobs, yearly jobs that just sat in your diary and never get booked over. Because as soon as you book over it once, all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, and I think, it's like, if you decided, or I decided that I wanted to get, go to the gym, get a six pack. For whatever reason, I wanted to go and get a six pack. I don't just go once and think, that's it. I've got my gym membership. I've done one training session. Why have I not got a six pack? You know that you have to put in the daily work. You know you have to go consistently. You know that the equipment and the classes and everything are going to be there for you, but you actually have to go. You actually have to put yourself into that position. Now, if you do that consistently, I'm not saying I'll ever have a six pack again, but you see you know that you're going to have to invest that time, and it's the same thing in your business. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes we go, you know what, I really can't be bothered doing that. I can't be bothered with social media today, or I don't want to do this. That's when, going back to your earlier point, the really successful agents, that's why they're really successful. Because like you, they'll go, it doesn't matter, it's 10:30 at night. I'm still going to do what I've said I'm going to do and what my daily task is. That a big part of that makes the success.
So you mentioned earlier about positions in the company, and so you've recently become the regional champion for Scotland for women in estate agency. So
Yes.
talk me through what does that role involve exactly?
Well, it's literally just happened. So it happened, I went down to the Women in Estate Agency conference in March down in London. These things are always in London, as we know. And
Did you dance English really?
oh, well, we'll do one in July. And I went down and I was just blown away by the collaboration of all these women estate agents. And I met some lovely people, and obviously Verona, who chairs it. I'd known her kind of through social media as you do. And I just said to her, "Well, I would really love to become involved in this." And it so happened that there was going to be places coming up. So what it involves for really is bringing together women in estate agency within your region, which is mine is obviously Scotland. It's not about what company you work for. It's not about what model brokerage anything you're with. It's about sharing and championing all the concerns and all the things that any agent may face. So we'll run sort of socials and we'll run events, 2 or 3 times a year. I've already got one planned for September, and bringing people in just to have a place to go to and share ideas, get support, and also if there's anything that might have worked, for somebody, let's share it out there. Let's bring up the standard in estate agency going forward. So yeah, I'm really excited. And I'm looking forward to being as good a champion as I can to aspiring, new and existing estate agents in Scotland.
But I think it's a very good thing, worthy cause to do, to say the least. We've actually just joined the Charter for Women in Estate Agency as of last week. I think we've got that all sorted, so it's really good. And actual Rachel Ollington was laughing at me the other day because I was telling her how I rejected access to the Women in Estate Agency Facebook group, and she said, "Yes, Chris, because you're not a woman." And I said, "Yes, I found that out when they replied back saying we already declined your request, Chris, because you're not a woman." I was like, Okay, now I get it, sort of thing. So I did try and join the Facebook group. I'm probably one of the few men who actually did try and join and got rejected horribly. So back to you and your business. So talk me through what's the future look like? What's the goals for sort of Keller Williams Scotland? What's on the agenda going forward?
Well, our goal in terms of, I mean, obviously my role, a lot of it is recruiting agents, and not just, we have in Keller, we can do agent people who have maybe had businesses before, are self-employed, but had not been estate agents. We've got the training to do that, but also existing agents who are maybe struggling financially. Let's be honest, for some of the reasons that we've mentioned earlier, and there's a lot of costs can be involved in having your own agency. So we want to take on agents. I want to get to 150 by the end of the year. We're just under 100 at the moment. We're expanding into Edinburgh. So we've got a premise in Edinburgh that we're going to open up. And then just kind of, we want to be, kind of, we've got the four corners: Glasgow, Edinburgh, Inverness, and Aberdeen. But really just support as best can agents that, people that want to come into the industry, but also people who are already in it, who are struggling a bit. Don't give up, just kind of don't give up. Come and partner with us, or another model. There are other models available, but obviously, I would say that, of course, I'm going to say that we are the most supportive. But yeah, just for me, it's about standards in the industry, as I've said. Let's really kind of ultimately give the client a better experience, because quite often we're not really thought of the way that we would like to be thought of. So let's change that.
So if you could talk to someone who's listening to this today who is thinking about going self-employed, they might be with a corporate company or might have no estate agency experience at the moment, what would be the one bit of advice you'd give that person?
Well, I would say and I say to everybody, if you're thinking of going self-employed, you have to know your numbers. You have to know kind of what, ultimately we all need to make money to live, to feed our families, to stay in our houses. So what does that figure look like for you? What's the absolute minimum that you need to make? Look at all the different models. Don't just go on social media and look at, the ones that are shouting the loudest. Just look at all the different models. Who are you wanting to partner with? Who do you think is the best person that can help you? I mean, I'm obviously going to say don't stay in corporate because, you can earn more as a self-employed agent if you do it well, and if you've done exactly the things we've said. We don't take on everybody that comes to us, Chris. We're at the stage where I will sit down, and if I feel that somebody is not in the right place mentally, or I'm maybe not quite sure that it's the right thing for them, I will say to them, Don't join, don't join," because you have to be if and I will not put somebody under financial pressure if I can at all avoid it, because what does that do for anybody? They're just going to come in, if they're not going to take the actions, put themselves under more financial pressure, and that's not good for anybody. So that depends, either corporate or somebody wanting to start. That's why we've kind of gone down the route of people who have had a business before or self-employed before. They know the pitfalls of not having a guaranteed salary. Sometimes it's easier to take them into this kind of model than somebody who's in a corporate world and is used to a guaranteed salary, albeit not huge, but at least they've got that salary. So
I'm always surprised the lack of shopping around that happens in the self-employed estate agency world sort of thing. The number of times I talk to them, I'm like, "Oh, great, you've just signed up with so and so. Who did you talk to apart from them?" And they'll be like, "Oh, no one. I just spoke to them." And it's like, well, you're about to get into business with someone effectively, and you're kind of, you're doing a partnership sort of agreement here. For the next however long, why would you not go and speak to, people get three valuations on their house. Why would you not go and talk to at least a couple of self-employed agencies and see kind of what sticks and what doesn't stick and what's good and what's bad sort of thing? At least they give you a good idea about the ones that are really good will stand out more than the crowd, and they give you a good idea what to ask the other ones as well.
100%. And I think, for me, and I would say to people, speak to obviously myself, my leadership team, that is our role to help people come into the business, but speak to my agents. There's three numbers of agents, maybe a new one, an older one in terms of length of time, not age, and go and speak to loads of different people. Um, but who ultimately you are going into business with somebody, you are in partnership with them. So who is that person that you want that to be? It's not just about a commission split. It's not just about, how many other agents are in the model. It's about what is right for you. What is right for you as a person. So I mean, I just it shocks me that people don't do the shopping about. I would encourage you, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Been a brilliant guest, I'll say. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Chris.